right now and say welcome to the Northside Democrats meeting. There are a couple of things that I want to go over during our time. I'm Sarah Pernius, one of the organizers. There will be other organizers. Hey, Brad Kunkel. Hey, thanks for checking in. Good afternoon. Yeah, you're welcome to stay and check in, Brad. I think that we probably won't have a lot of attendees, but we're going to, this is being recorded so that our members and people interested will have access to this video to learn more. So there's probably not going to be a lot of like chit chat and stuff like that. So stay if you want to stay or not, as you please.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, but welcome.
Thanks.
Yeah. So the Northside Democrats is a sort of spin-off of the Eastside Democrats, which is a long-standing activist organization in the east side of Iowa City. And they have been basically coordinating political action in that part of the county, in sort of the east side Iowa City area. And as we approach the 2020 election, we really need to mobilize the entire part of this county because it is the bluest, most democratic couple of districts in the entire state. And so that when we have elections, like for example, the Senate election, to get Joni Ernst out, we have to have a huge voter advantage coming out of our neighborhoods in order to balance some of the stuff like on the western side of the state. So for example, even though, you know, in the last governor election, we had a 30,000 vote advantage, like we had 30,000 more Democratic votes coming out of Johnson County than Republican. And that helps. You know, it didn't quite let us win the governor's race, but it helps. And so if we're gonna, for example, elect a Democratic president, get a Democrat to replace Joni Ernst, to make sure Rita Hart gets in, to be sure that, for example, Lonnie Polkrabik gets in and beats Bobby Kaufman up in 73, we need to be turning out as many Democrats as we can because we know they're here. We just have to make sure they get out and vote. And they know how to do that and they're engaged. And so that's kind of our role, is to help with turnout, help with engagement, and really help people feel like they're part of a larger democratic community of activists and people who are doing stuff. So that's kind of our mission, is turnout and vote advantage. And we do this through a variety of different things. We do canvassing, phone banking, fundraising, and there's a new term going around in politics called relational organizing, which is basically leveraging the contacts with people you have to get them more engaged and to get them to vote. And so it's kind of like we're really looking to people to reach out to their friends and their acquaintances and their neighbors and talk to them about politics, because sometimes people don't want to talk about politics, but it's kind of like once you do it, you know, it's out there and it helps to kind of get that conversation started. So we're doing a lot of that kind of hands-on voter contact. Within the Northside Democrats, as in the Eastside Democrats, there are other roles that people can play. So I know that there are people who maybe physically cannot go out and knock doors or really don't want to make phone calls. And we have other roles for people too, like data entry and hosting, canvassing operations, different kinds of support. I would also like to add writing letters to the editor too, as a thing that we can do to get voting out. There is plenty of training available. Hey, Royce-Ann. Thanks for joining us. We're just easing into the description of what the Eastside Democrats has been doing and now the Northside Democrats is gonna be doing. This is recorded, so many of our members couldn't make it today to the Zoom, so they will have access to the Zoom later on. So I've covered some of what we do. I was just saying, Another part of what's on offer is is training. So when people join the Northside Democrats, we won't just send them out to go knock doors. There will be training, so people will know how to canvass, and they'll know how to make effective phone calls and know how to organize relationally and so on. So one of the things about how we operate, and this is similar to the Eastside Democrats, is that we do and will be coordinating with other campaigns as they come into the state or as they come to our part of the state. So for example, once the primary season is over, we'll have a Senate candidate, and that campaign will have an operation, and we will work with them to turn out voters for that particular campaign. There will also, of course, be a presidential campaign, and there will be people in the area organizing on behalf of that campaign. And so we will, we will work with those. So there's the coordinated campaigns, and we will be coordinating with them. Like, we'll be kind of their people on the ground who know the territory that they'll rely on to make the best kinds of contacts with voters. But really nothing will get going until after the primary, when we know who our candidates are, especially locally. I would say the one that is going to be probably at the top of our list this year is going to be the Senate race to try to get Joni Ernst out. And that's going to be priority, I think, for many people in our district. And I think we can have a big effect on that with the turnout. Part of our territory in the Eastside Democrats is Newport Precinct, and that is in House District 73. So we will be knocking doors for Lonnie as we go, if there's door knocking, or working to get out the vote for Lonnie Pulkrabek in House District 73 as well. Hey, Trisha.
Hey, everybody.
We're just kind of overview of what the Eastside Dems have been doing.
Yeah.
And what we're doing.
I heard a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm hoping that Sue Bryant will join us at some point and talk a little more about what the Eastside Dems have been doing. I know that there is a specific action item coming up, which is to be calling people to get them to turn out, to get their votes in by mail for the primary. So we'll probably be sending out more information about that. And also possibly, again, earlier I said that we do a lot of training. So hopefully there will be training for that as well before we ask people to make phone calls to get voters to, send in their absentee ballot request and then send in their absentee ballot. So those are things that are kind of coming up. So that's kind of an overview of what we're doing here. What kinds of questions do you guys have? Anything that you want to know more about? Or Trisha, anything that you missed that you want filled in?
First of all, hi, everybody. My name is Trisha Zabrowski. I think I know some of you. Brad, I have your sign on my front lawn. Yay. Christina Bohannon, sign on my front lawn. When you say the East Side, one question I have is, when you say the East Side Democrats, how do they differ from Flip It, or are they the same?
They're two separate groups. Flip It is specifically looking to leverage the kind of democratic power of Iowa City to flip districts outside of Johnson County, where they don't have, they don't have the kind of democratic momentum that we have here.
Right.
But certainly we work together on stuff.
Okay.
A lot of the activist organizations like Potluck Insurgency and Flip It and Moms Demand Action, as we'll coordinate and say, I got a call from Sharon Lake yesterday, Eastside Dems, who said, "Oh, Flip It is doing this fundraiser for Kayla Kother, and will you promote it through Northside?" So there's all this sort of cross-pollination with these different groups.
Right. So that's what I wanted. It's hard to keep track. And I've done a lot of stuff with Flip It. And then I thought, well, is Flip It the same as Eastside? but thanks.
Yeah,
There's sort of, yeah, lots of, and I think actually, right, that building a coalitions is the way to go.
Absolutely.
Is what I think.
Yes.
And then my other question is, I guess this is related to the Ernst, who's ever going to run against Ernst. Is that primary as well in June?
Yes, June 2nd.
Same primary is
Yes.
June. Okay,
Yes.
got it.
Yes. Yeah. So I feel like we're kind of pending right now because we don't have a candidate. And we just kind of have to hopefully get everything, you know, ready to go in the next month so that
Right.
once we have a candidate, we're ready to start our work. Now, earlier, before the pandemic, North Side and East Side, we were planning to knock doors the day after the primary.
Right.
Just to get people thinking, like not even as part of a campaign, just get people starting to think about the election in November. Obviously, we're not going to be able to do that. And so I think ongoing, Northside Dems and Eastside Dems will be coordinating on like, how do we knock doors in the age of a pandemic, right? Like what are the other options that we have? And I know that some of the campaigns, like I know the Christina Bohannon campaign has done a lot of phone calling and a lot of writing postcards and things like that. And that's maybe something that we might want to try, is doing more of that kind of thing. But we'll strategize about like, what are the best ways to reach out to voters? Not sure yet.
Do you think that there's I mean, because the Flip It is focused on Iowa, the Iowa House, do you think that there's a potential of doing that, taking that model and doing something for our Senate candidate towards other parts of the state? Or is that outside of or at least local communities that are not Johnson County?
Right, or just not Iowa City.
Not Iowa City, yeah.
So you mean like, say, go up to Solon or go to West Branch or something like that to knock doors?
I mean, I just think that model is really effective because
the Flip It model,
because when you are doing things in Johnson County or specifically Iowa City, for the most part, you're preaching to the choir.
Right.
And so I think you really need to figure out a way to leverage the energy here in other parts of the state.
Yeah. Well, I will say that during the Jody campaign, and Diane, I managed Jody Clemens's House race in 2018 against Bobby Kaufman in House District 73. And I know that we actually did kind of do that, Tricia. Like we really leveraged a lot of people coming out of Iowa City that went over into Cedar County and knocked doors over there, right? And so like, yeah, maybe that is a thing we can do. I think we have to really balance that with like, how many votes can we squeeze out of this? You know, like that's the priority. It's like, we just have to really, you know, and I feel like too, like in some of the rural areas, you know, it's hard to knock those doors efficiently because you have to have longer conversations. You have to drive a long way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that makes it more complicated. But I think if we have like a whole ton of people that want to do this, that's something we can consider. I will say, taking on Newport precinct, that's a really big precinct, like in area. I know Brad probably knows Newport really well. You know, it's big. There are a lot of voters that need a lot of convincing out there too, I think. So because we're taking that on, I will add too, like we're still with East Side, we're still drawing the map. Like in play is precinct 23, Iowa City 23. We're not sure if we're going to take that precinct or if Eastside Dems is going to take that precinct. But we still have a really big area to cover if especially adding Newport.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and that's an area that hasn't necessarily gotten a ton of attention.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think we can do it. And, you know, Brad, I wonder if you could say a word or two about, I'm thinking specifically Newport, but my sense there is that there are sort of like Democrats who aren't entirely convinced that they're Democrats there, or, you know.
Yeah. I'll go back up to something you kind of touched on when you're thinking about calling and knocking. I had really good luck with answering their phones more in the rural areas because it's a lot more landlines, and that population is a little bit older though, so they answer the phones, and that's, I think, a little more efficient use of your time, horses and gas than driving and knocking on a door and then a mile down the road to the next farm and so on.
Right.
So you might want to think more about the best way to connect with people depending if they're in a rural setting or the urban setting.
Yeah.
So that's, but also we're now campaigning in COVID-19 world, so door knocking is pretty much over with. So it's all phone calling. And then you run into a lot of, landline versus cell phones, and maybe more cell phones. You think about text messaging contacts first. I mean, I've had people a voicemail with a text to say, you got my vote. So it's just really leveraging every one of those ways people communicate too.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
And yeah, the rural folks are different because they may be Democrats on some things and feel a little more conservative about other things. And it's just, it's that personal connection that makes the difference.
Absolutely.
But a lot of it goes back to, I forget, maybe two, but just, or maybe you did, Sarah, that personal connection. What did you call it? The
relational organizing. Yeah.
Yes, that's really is so effective. I mean, thinking of a pyramid model of getting one person to send an email to 10 people and so on. I've had really good success with that too. And in my campaign, just one person writing down a list of people and reaching out to them, and people want to know why it matters to them personally. So it's just getting that buy-in one at a time, and then kind of maximizing on those networks that they have.
Yeah.
You've got to do it over the long term too. I mean, you've got to start over here, not a month down the road. So I think the idea of jumping out there June 3rd is really where you got to start, and it's that sustained effort for as long as possible.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, in a second, I'm going to introduce Sue, but I just want to say, like, relational organizing is something actually we're going to ask our members to do too. Like, reach out to people and see if they want to join Northside Dems to help us, get stuff done. So anyway, we're joined now by Sue Bryant. Hi, Sue.
Hi, Sue.
Thanks for coming. We have basically covered kind of what the organization is, what it's all about. So Sue, of course, is a key member of the Eastside Democrats. So I think if we have questions about how they operate, she can answer them. But also, did you want to say some stuff to Sue about what you do or what we've got coming up?
Oh, give me a chance to talk and I'll talk.
Oh, I should warn you, because I have a free Zoom account, we're done in like 15 minutes. So
okay, sorry, I'm so late jumping on.
It's good. It's good.
I'll be really short.
No, you're good.
I want to talk about and mention that we are doing this outreach via phone calls to get out the vote for the primary. It's not candidate specific. And Sarah, you are getting access to our Google Docs, which will include the list of people who are calling, and maybe more importantly, we've updated the scripts for the phone calls, and we are asking the Westside Dems, as organized as they may or may not be, to participate also. And we're looking at this as kind of a preparatory to the general election. So not only are we really working to get out the vote by mail, encouraging people to get their absentee ballot requests in and then get their ballots in. So there are two scripts, one to get their ABRs and then the other to get their ballots back in. And then hopefully this will get us organized also for the general election. So Sarah, you're going to have access to hopefully anything that you might be interested in looking at. And we are really excited about Northside Dems. So yay! Woohoo! Looking forward to your t-shirts.
Oh, t-shirts. That hadn't even occurred to
T-shirts.
me.
Northside Dems.
Yay. Yeah, awesome. Well, let's see. So, Sue, I guess like we should probably recruit people who want to make calls and coordinate with you guys. Is that the idea?
Yeah.
Okay. We will do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you guys have any questions for Sue about what they do and anything like that?
Sarah, you had mentioned writing postcards, and I was wondering if that's something that the Eastside Dems have included as one of the ways to get people out to vote, and how successful it is compared to phone calling.
Sue, that's a question for you, I think.
Oh, sorry. We have looked into doing some postcards. That's going to be done more on an individual basis within somebody's particular precinct. So they generate some contact with a person on a little more personal basis. I can't give you any feedback on it yet because we don't know.
Okay.
But thanks for the question. So yeah, hopefully that'll be really helpful.
Sue, this is Trisha. My name's Trisha. And
Hi, Tricia.
hey, what would you say is sort of the most successful thing that your organization has done to achieve an aim?
Okay, wow, that's a tough question.
I mean, you know, the thing that you think
I feel like I'm
has
running
gotten you
from-
the most
Well,
bang for your buck.
Pieces. The answer to that question. I think two things. One is Eastside Dems has been mostly about getting out the vote and canvassing, which of course is not a great option, and we don't expect it to be a major option for November either. Even
Okay.
we are quote released to be outside.
Yeah, I know, it's unbelievable.
Sane enough to not be really interested in doing that. So given that we can't do a lot of canvassing, or probably won't be able to do a lot of canvassing, I think the most we do in terms of being successful is organize. And thank you, Brad, for mentioning, and especially thank you, Sarah, for mentioning relational contact. It's about developing those people within the precincts, getting the personal contacts.
Okay.
Eastside Dems, I mean, I'm kind of a newcomer to Eastside Dems. The long-term folks have been doing this for
a long time.
And organizing and developing relationships and setting up lists. And so getting your lists developed and getting those contacts is probably the key to the success that we're able to achieve.
Okay, so that sounds like a priority for us, is really to start reaching out to people to build the list of, you know, people who are interested and can help out, and like getting those networks set in each precinct.
And that's one, I'm sorry, Sarah, one real quick thing, but that's one advantage I think there is to phone calling over postcards. Phone calling, you can actually maybe have a little more, you can have more of a conversation. And then you can actually go, oh, well, great, you're really interested. And so would you like to be involved, you know, do you want to join us?
Right.
And, you know, postcards are just not going to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you wouldn't get the immediate feedback from that person that you're trying to reach out to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think the text messaging is a great idea too. I don't know about anyone else on the call, but I'm much more likely to respond to a text than I am a phone call.
Yeah, like for Moms Demand Action, I get those texts from Holly Sanger, right?
So, yeah.
And
Those
it's directly
hustles,
from somebody I know, and she's like, are you coming to the meeting? And I know it's a mass text, right? But because it's coming from somebody I know, I'm like, oh yeah.
And something else that to think about that we've kind of had to do when we're going through our call list is, you know, you can even dive into, you can look at the age of the voter, and, you know, the younger voters anymore tend to just respond text
right.
overall. So really starting to think about who's doing calling. Landlines, of course, are the safe bet, and we can all kind of discern those relatively quick looking at those lists. But when you work your way through and see, one, cell phones, and then two, if they're those even under 30-year-old voters, texting might be the way to go. And once you get with the script, you can just cut and paste, fire it off, and some people might write back, of course, and say, leave me alone, and others will be like, sounds great. So it's just really having to think outside the box for connecting with people right now, because everybody's different.
Yeah, I don't know how many of you use ResistBot, which is it's that app where you yeah. And the good thing about it is it'll say to you, do you want to contact your senator? It just comes. And anyway, the point is that it texts you, right, Sarah, if you do it, and then it gives you access to something you can do right then. So it's not just, do you agree to support us? It's, do you want to contact Joni Ernst? Do it now and use this link. So I'm more apt to, when I get those things, I just go, yeah, all right, I'm doing it now. And I just send a message to her. So if there's a way to do that in the texts, I'm sure there are. That's not ResistBot. I mean, it's not impinging on anything.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys knew that Tricia was one of the organizers. It was the 90%. What was it called again, Tricia?
Oh, we were the 49.
The 49, right?
We were the 49 way back in the George Bush days when we just were, so that was our organization. We actually did a lot of stuff.
Yeah, so some of the stuff that she did and that organization did was kind of outside of the box a little bit. So I think we need to put our heads together and think about some ways of, making this work that's not the usual knocking doors, since we can't do it. So you and I in particular should just brainstorm some stuff maybe.
Yeah, I mean, things that you can do to get a message out that, we did a lot of that sort of guerrilla stuff, like just getting, signs and stickers and getting people thinking. And it was pretty effective. We had a lot of people doing things because of that. So I'm happy to do that.
Yeah. So let's think creatively about how we might deal with the situation.
Plus it's fun.
Yeah. Plus we could have some fun. I mean, the thing is politics, I think it should be fun. I think we should be full of energy and excitement and get out there. And, I love knocking doors and I love talking to people. So, we got to figure out a way to make this exciting, even in the absence of that. So, and hopefully we can convey that to people as they join the group too, that this should be important and energizing and fun all at the same time. So.
And just so you all know, if you don't already, but Rita Hart is using a texting program.
She is, yeah. I just got one from her.
Every Wednesday, starting, I think from 5:30 to 6:30. So if you're interested in that, we'll share that with Sarah if you haven't seen that already.
Cool, I haven't seen it, yeah. Yeah.
Well, she just sent one. I just received one from her. It was a general thank you for support. And I didn't know, I was surprised to get it, but I just received one from her. So
cool.
Makes you notice.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we're just about at the end of our time. Any final questions or concerns from anybody? I'm going to send this out to the rest of the group so they can get a sense of what we covered here. Probably follow up with you, Sue. But any other final questions from you guys before we?
Thanks so much for getting us together, Sarah.
It was hard. It was hard. I started working on this a couple months ago, and I just hit just inertia.
Yeah.
I couldn't do anything, but now we're going.
Yeah,
So
Totally
I think that's
understandable.
understandable. Yeah, but I
yeah,
look forward to meeting all of you or seeing all of you at some point in person, in the real world.
yeah, yeah. I hope we can get out and canvas by the end of the summer. I really, really do.
Let's hope we can,
Yeah.
and get a haircut before that, maybe.
Oh God.
Or something.
Trisha.
Or something. You gotta do something.
All right. Well, take care, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Sarah.
Stay
Bye-bye.
healthy.
Bye.
Stay
Stay
healthy.
healthy.
Bye.
Stay healthy.